So Volleyball World made a big announcement this week. It was on their website, it was on Instagram, it was all over LinkedIn, and they made a really big deal about it. So here it is. VNL launches official merchandise with Decathlon and unveils new game ball by Mikasa. I won't lie, this actually piqued my interest. As someone who grew up playing soccer, I remember how for every World Cup, Adidas and FIFA would come together and release a new ball. Every 4 years, the game would combine innovation and design and really push the game forward to new heights. As a young soccer player, I always thought this was so exciting. I remember, I was 10 years old in 2022 when FIFA released this ball here, the Fever Nova. And I thought this was so damn cool. I was 10 years old. I was starting my first year of competitive soccer. And I remember my coach went out and bought one of these balls. When he brought it out, we spent some time all passing it around and looking at it because it just looked so good. We would show up to games and the other team would like almost demand that we use this as the game ball. Like guys would show up early to practice just to be able to use the Fever Nova ball because we only had one, right? They were pretty expensive at the time. And it was the same thing 4 years later. Adidas comes out with the Teamgeist, however you want to pronounce it. And I mean, this one was special, right? It had less panels. The panels were curved and they were all, glued and fused together so that this ball was pretty much waterproof. It looked cool. It felt great. And it really just started setting that standard. It felt like we were in the 21st century. It felt like we were in the 2000s. It felt like we were in the future. And I mean, this continued. Like, who could forget the Jabulani? Man, this ball was sick. This ball was sick. And I mean, I know a lot of keepers, including myself at the time, didn't really like it. But man, who doesn't remember how, FIFA every year, and like it became a thing. Every cycle FIFA would come out with a new ball. So, and I mean, look, like the Trianda, sick. Represents all the different countries going to be hosting the upcoming World Cup. I think that's awesome. It's great for the marketing. It gets people excited about it. It just looks good overall. So when Volleyball World announced that they would be doing this, I was excited. And you go into the press release right here. Developed with Mikasa, the new official game ball combines elite level performance with a bold, modern design that brings the competition's visual language directly onto the court. Awesome. Built to meet the highest technical standards of international volleyball, it delivers consistency and reliability at every level of the game. Great. That's so sick. I mean, I'm not expecting FIFA levels here. Am I expecting a completely new engineered ball than the same one we've been using? No. But some different colorways, a different design, something a little different to spice things up a little bit. So I was excited. And then this is what we got. This is the new ball. This is the bold and modern designs that we got for the 2026 VNL, right? This is what the press releases were all about. The exact same V200W that we've been using now for many years in the exact same colorways with a few strokes of color along the blue. That's it, and that's all. Nothing different, nothing innovative, nothing like visually appealing. If you're sitting a few rows back at a stadium, if you're watching on the broadcast, are you going to know that this is a different ball? I won't. I won't. What is different about this? You know what I mean? I guess this is what we kind of should have expected. This was their special edition World Championship ball that they released last year. Just some stencils that say Thailand and it's electrifying and Philippines and, the outline of the trophy. It's kind of what we've come to expect. I love this post here by Mikasa Philippines. It's like, meet the new standard of the game. What new standard? It's the exact same ball that we've been using since 2018. It's gone through 2 different Olympics. It's the exact same ball. What is different about this? What new standard is about this? And I mean, like, if you want to talk about the colorways of this, I mean, you've got the original 18 panel Mikasa that they used back in like 2004 Olympics in Athens. Then you've got the MVA 200, which was, revolutionary in so many ways that they used from 2008 to 2018. And now we have the Mikasa, the V200W that we've been using now for 8 years. And I'm guessing in 2028, because that seems to be their timeline, they're going to come out with a new one. But you can't come out there and say that there's a new standard. One of the worst things about it is that we've seen different colorways in this exact same ball. This is the League One ball, the LOVB ball that they use in the United States. It's still the same ball. Same thing. It's the V200W, but it's way more visually appealing. It's way more interesting to look at. With the red, white, and blue, how they switch it up. You look on the broadcast, it looks different. When I see people using this ball, it looks different. It looks appealing. It looks interesting. I like the way this looks. I mean, hell, even up here in Canada, we have different balls. You've got the Volleyball Canada Mikasa, you've got the OVA Mikasa, just in some different colorways, just to kind of switch it up a little bit. Playing club volleyball as a kid, we had the old bought-in volleyballs, that had our stenciled logo on it. The Ottawa Kangaroos had it stenciled into the ball. So I'm just so underwhelmed by this announcement and that this is all we've gotten. And the thing is, too, so part of this announcement is that they've announced, some other more promotional balls with Decathlon. And this is the Decathlon ball, which I'll actually give them credit for this. I actually kind of like this ball. You see that visual identity from the VNL, with the orange and with the blue and with the sublimated lines that kind of switch in between. Imagine if we had this colorway in this ball, like similar to like what we have here with the League One ball. This colorway in this type of style, I think would be super sick. I would actually be excited to buy something like that with this colorway in this type of style of ball. So I think that's a huge miss here from Volleyball World, from the FIVB, and more specifically from Mikasa, to be able to go out and do something different with this VNL ball. I really think it's a big miss. This is one of the other balls that we're seeing in a different color, in a colorway. I think this is actually the mini ball. Going back to the classic all white, once again with the VNL colors on it, I kind of like it. It's kind of nice to me. But this is just so disappointing in what we're getting from this partnership and this announcement. It really is. It really is altogether. Now, this isn't all that they announced. Just for context, Decathlon is now one of the new sponsors and partners of Volleyball World. And when they made this announcement, I was actually pretty interested in it. I was actually pretty interested in it. I know that there's been a lot of, not necessarily complaints, but pointing out that volleyball, the VNL, Volleyball World doesn't really have that much of its own merchandise and stuff like that. And from what I understand, Decathlon is actually a pretty good company. Decathlon is a French company that really focuses on that not like lower tier, but just affordable sporting goods. I know some people who use their hiking gear and they seem to really like it. When I do any research in Kipsta and how they work in soccer, a lot of people actually praise Kipsta for having lower quality stuff that's actually higher quality than their competitors at that same price range. Like, if you want to buy under $100 pair of soccer cleats, it's better to buy Kipsta than it is to buy, say, Nike or Adidas. So I was pretty intrigued by this partnership, and I was interested to see how it could, come about with Volleyball World. And I won't lie, I'm a little underwhelmed overall by what we're getting from all of this. It looks like there's a couple pairs of socks. To me, they don't look to be anything kind of special. It looks like they're decent athletic socks. Like if someone gave me a pair, I would wear them, but I also wouldn't spend my money on them. You've got some sweaters, you got some t-shirts. There's some arm sleeves. Cool. Like I'm pretty neutral on like the socks and the sleeves. I never use sleeves to play, so I wouldn't really use them. I've already said I kind of like the design of the balls. I think especially as like a promotional ball, as like a recreational ball, this looks pretty good. I won't lie. And then they got some knee pads, which I think are the worst pieces of this. These knee pads are terrible in my opinion. I think this is a huge miss. These are the knee pads for kids in middle school or elementary school. Maybe your mom went to go pick them up at just the general sports store and you're showing up to practice a little embarrassed that you have to wear them. And once again, I think this is a miss. They could have done a blue colorway. They could have done an orange colorway. But just like if you look at how this knee pad looks and like the stitching on that, it's just not great for me. It doesn't move the needle for me. Overall, this stuff is all right. I think, once again, I think the knee pads are the worst. When we move forward and look at the t-shirts to me are just very generic. They look very much the same as what we saw with the volunteer t-shirts over the past couple of years, whether they're orange or they're blue with just the VNL on the front. Like that VNL logo is a little bit different, is a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. I'll give them that. But then when you go to the sweater, right, it's kind of a dumbed down version, right? Where's the sublimation of the color between the blue and the orange that we've seen both on the logo and on the lines of the ball? Like, I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. There could be so much more done. Like, imagine this t-shirt, but on the back, you have it kind of like a band design, right? You have that band design where it has, the VNL 2026 World Tour, and then all of the locations and dates for all of the different stops of the VNL as you go down. Or, you could use this. You could use this very map with all of the different locations, put that on the back. It just shows, like, it gives it a little bit of identity, it gives it a time and a place, something that is visually appealing. Once again, like the branding and the visual story that they're telling with this like VNL branding is actually pretty good. Or, what about if we use this trophy? Once again, the VNL logo on the front, maybe you do another one with just like the small one over the heart, and on the back, you've got the VNL trophy. Volleyball Nations League 2026, 30 days, 11 countries, 1 champion. I think that'd be sick. Like, this VNL trophy that they released last year, I think is awesome. Right? I think this is something that, Volleyball World did right with how it looks and the design of it and how it ties into the entire competition. I think it's awesome. Why not put it on the merchandise? Right? That's exactly what we're seeing in pop culture right now. If you go out to, in any major city, you're seeing men and women in oversized t-shirts, and it's old band t-shirts, or you've got NASCAR t-shirts and stuff like that. Is anyone going to be wearing this as like a retro thing in 10, 15, 20 years? I don't think so. If I was given this, like, I wouldn't spend money on it, but if I was given this, I would wear it a little bit, maybe, but it just doesn't push the needle for me at all. All of this is just another indication of kind of what I've been saying for a long time in volleyball. It's one of my big theories in volleyball. Volleyball people are apathetic because they've never been catered to as fans. It's always been the absolute bare minimum, like sloppily slapped together with no thought or no care, no thought of like, hey, what do people actually want? What would people actually wear? This is why we get the broadcasts that we do, and I know that I was comparing things to soccer, and I know that's the gold standard, but our broadcasts are just regurgitating what a soccer broadcast looks like. English announcers and all. It's the same thing with this type of apparel. It doesn't push the needle. It doesn't create any sense of excitement whatsoever. It doesn't further the brand. It doesn't further the game. It's just generic. And that's how people see volleyball in so many ways. Like, give us something more, please. Give us a little something more than just the complete bare minimum. Show us that you've put a little bit more thought into this than just spending one afternoon in a boardroom and slapping together a few of the basics, the absolute bare minimum together. Because it just isn't it. And I mean, this is really not it. It's really not it. On top of all that, the worst thing about this ball here is that this isn't even like, this is the recreational ball, as they call it, the V330W. It's $15 more for a few blue and red lines on the ball. And if you look at like the visual storytelling between these two balls, they're completely different. How can you tell me that this is like the visual identity of the VNL when you have this ball here that actually shows that visual identity for the VNL? It's just another complete miss that they're really making a big deal about to, kind of pat themselves on the back for doing the absolute bare minimum, which is it's just something I'm so tired of. I've been in this game for over 15 years, and it's just continuously the same thing of the absolute bare minimum, and I'm tired of it.